Hello, and thanks for joining us for episode 3 of the FMCG in Crowd Value series. In this episode, we're going to look at what seems to be a perennial subject, EDLP, as we all know, everyday low price. In recent months, it's been in the spotlight due to Tesco unveiling their Jeephead strategy, which stands for Great Prices Every Day. This has seen in the last 12 weeks Tesco reduce the number of items on promotion across their stores by over 30% year on year, and it shows no signs of slowing down in the latest 4 weeks. So I asked my guests to share their thoughts on EDLP pricing and what they see as the benefits for this kind of strategy.
Hello, my name is Rachel Young and I'm the Group Net Revenue Director at Nomad Foods, which operates under the brands of Birdseye, Aunt Bessie's and Goodfellas in the UK and Ireland and Findus and Igloo across Europe. We operate across 13 markets and my role is to support each of the markets to execute net revenue strategies effectively.
I think there's a lot of benefits for the retailers and ultimately it's a really strong message that encourages footfall if they want to gain share. So, they can gain footfall in those cases. And it also means that their operational complexities are much more simple. So they are ultimately trying to compete with the discounters. Interestingly, though, the discounter growth rate has been dampened as people are looking to the hypermarkets and the supermarkets to do a full shop because of safety. They don't want to have to go to lots of different outlets at the moment. So I think they are doing it to drive footfall. They're doing it to drive simplicity in both their operational, back office, but also for the shopper.
Mm. And do you think there are categories where it's an EDLP approach is more suited, ones where high-low is more suited, and how would you kind of make the differentiation if it was up to you to make those decisions?
Yeah, I think it's really, really important to be forensic about this. So, if the category does not respond well to promotions and the base price is elastic, then clearly EDLP can be a really, really strong solution. In fact, we know that quite typically more than 50% of promotions don't actually grow the category. In fact, they can detract from category growth. So in that respect, EDLP can absolutely provide some benefits. The question is where shoppers see the feature element rather than necessarily the price on promotions. How can retailers continue to use that feature space really effectively to provide meal solutions or something so that the shopper still continues to get the benefit whilst knowing that they're actually going to continue to be able to buy at the same price all the time. So I think, when EDLP is mixed across the store with high-low activation, that can be hard for a shopper to understand, no matter how much POS you put around it. But there are opportunities where it can work really well. We've seen that in our business and we can see that elsewhere.
Yeah, I like the point you make about the kind of meal solutions. It's something that I think will be important going forward, not only for utilising the space and kind of making sure that there's some engagement, but actually when shoppers start to feel more comfortable and getting back into a normal routine, actually maybe the kind of meal solutions and kind of what used to be called retailtainment side of the kind of the trade was it would be quite important to re-engage people and give them that kind of like nice warm feeling about coming back into the store again, rather than just sometimes maybe I feel myself personally, when you go into a store, you've just got to get in, get out, get the stuff that you need, and it's not the most comfortable experience at the moment. So hopefully that'll kind of change going forwards.
What this calls for is a true partnership. So, a partnership of open minds, of strong views that are lightly held. Because ultimately what EDLP does is removes what we would call conditionality. So if EDLP doesn't work and it doesn't deliver the results both parties want, then you end up at an impasse. The supplier is frustrated that the volumes aren't where they want, but equally the retailer doesn't want to really change back to a previous case cost structure. So I think this is where it's really important that we really think about that forensic analysis, thinking about elasticity, price sensitivity, and identifying areas that we want to go for in terms of trialing, and approach it with a partnership and an open mind. If the category doesn't benefit, then we together should do something different. And that's why working together on it is so important.
I'm Kevin Nolan. I'm the Net Revenue Management and Commercial Strategy Controller at Bayer. I've been in revenue management for about 14 years now and very passionate around sustainably growing revenue. For me, it's around the simplicity of the message. Every day, all the time, low, that's good, price, brilliant. Really, really simple to latch onto. Any shopper gets it straight away. It's not murky, it's not hidden, there's no commitment to come here every single day, buy 100 of these, buy 50 of these and get it. There's nothing around loyalty. It's like, come in, be as promiscuous as you like, but you know you'll get the best price from me. So I think there's a great simplicity in message that a retailer loves. As I say, over the last however many years where this value has been framed into price, why wouldn't I talk about an everyday low price message? I've told my shoppers around it, consumers around it all the time. Now I'm just going to reinforce it for them in a really simple, nice badge that they'll get, right? That they'll get.
And what do you think, for taking it down into a specific category and maybe a couple of comparisons, what do you think makes EDLP good for a category or bad for a category? Where do you think it'll succeed and where do you think it'll be a little more challenging?
I mean, where it will succeed for a category, I'll be honest with you, I'm not really sure. Personally, I'm not really sure it could ever succeed for a category. I'm just trying to rack my brains and think, well, let me think about why. Where personally I think it doesn't work. I know in any brand I've worked on, in any category I work on, we have a proliferation of our buyers, right? If you've read the classic How Brands Grow work, we know our light buyers are really, really important to us, far more important than we would like to imagine, right? You know, I work for branded businesses. Yes, we want loyalists who live and breathe heartburn and indigestion tablets and vitamins tablets, but very few of those people genuinely exist. As a result, I need a way to reach the people who buy my category very, very infrequently, but are very, very important for me. And a price promotion with some gondola end amplification in store is a great route to do it. It's absolutely a great route to do it because people see something that they haven't gone down the aisle for, they haven't wanted to hunt out for, and they see it and think, oh, I need that, I'll get a bit of it. Well, actually, maybe they see it and don't think they need it, but think, well, I'll get it anyway because I've bumped into it, right? So that is where I feel the high-low piece is needed to draw attention and amplify, get into the consideration set in store. And over the last, through history, there's been less money in above the line talking about my brand outside of store, and more of the money's gone into talking about it in store at that crucial point of purchase, which I get, right? We want to put money as close to that pick up and that go through the till as we can as brand owners, because that is where we get our returns from. Taking that back into EDLP to be effective for a category, it feels something that's very, very commodity potentially, that you just talk constantly around a low price to bring for people to have that confidence that I'm not being, let's say, ripped off by it. But I genuinely think healthy categories exist where there is value, format, and therefore as a result price differentiation, where we have got brands that compete and talk about different things and different things that they can offer and therefore are worth paying more for. That for me is what drives healthy category and healthy shopping behaviour. We can look again back to whether it's EDLP. For me, I think it's almost the low piece is probably the piece to take out. If it's an everyday price can be high, if we're giving the right added value, the right benefits. Look at some great electronic retailers and brand owners and what they do in keeping price very, very, very high. There's no discounting whatsoever. Because I've got a brand that's worth paying more for, and people are still going to want to pick it up. And always what's the classic economics, right? The gift and good. As the price goes up, people want more of it. So I think that's my nervousness around EDLP. I think for healthy categories, I think need price and format and value differentiation, which comes through in their ticket on shelf.
The next question I asked was, what impact will increased requests for EDLP have on the relationship between resellers and their suppliers?
Our commercial relationships with the big retailers will always be challenging, right? I mean, that's the nature of the beast, because you've got two parties who both in some ways want the same thing and then want very, very different things at the end of it. It's the change. The change comes. There's massive drives to much more simplicity in how we operate as businesses and as partners, with lots more talk around, rather than reams and reams of conditionality in what we're going to do and what retailers want to do for us as brand owners. You know, our dream scenario as a brand owner is we want everything that we invest and everything to be 100% conditional with nice agreed metrics and we're all hit. In reality, we know that's never going to be the truth. It's finding, for me, the appropriate balance. You know, how can I guarantee an investment with a retailer when I can't really guarantee what they're going to do for me? Well, there's no potential evidence of what they're going to do for me. Are they going to put it on brand? I guess I want measurables for my investment that I can see and track. And if you hit me with the things I want to measure, it's up to me to make sure my brand performs in front of those consumers, right? And that's, I think, the piece that we could well lose with the EDLP. I know with a promotional end, I can see it, it's very visible, I can measure it, I can see its uplift, and I can reward you for doing it for me. This world of EDLP feels a huge leap of faith in many ways. And I think that's my concern for it. Is it the element of like, who's going to blink first?
I like the piece that you put in there as well about the, you know, not only is the commercial agreement between the the retailer and the supplier that, you know, we will invest in this way if you give us these kind of executional elements to help us drive our brand, but the focus as well on the responsibility of the brand to make sure that once that's been agreed and the execution's been agreed, that the brand actually delivers, and you know, there will be the recognition, the recall of your brand, the quality of the actual product will deliver on the needs of the consumer, all those kind of things. And I think that sometimes can get lost in a commercial discussion and negotiation. And so I guess it's important for brands to make sure that certainly on the more marketing side, that they're almost doubling down on that as well, to make sure they uphold that end of the bargain.
My name's Phil Morgan. I work for Premier Foods. I've been with the business for 8 years, and my job title is Commercial Planning and Execution Director. So that means I cover off strategic pricing, a commercial planning team, customer marketing team, and a field sales team. There has been a gradual move towards EDLP over the years. I think it's well trailed, isn't it, in terms of the reasons why, you know, being competitiveness with across different channels, you know, making sure that there is no reason to cross the road, but also removing complexity and resource and man hours, you know, in store, changing shelf edge labels, building display, you know, moving stock around and the spikes in the supply chain. Or, you know, we've talked, there's a lot of talk about, you know, the inherent costs within high-low of versus EDLP. The thing which I think we are thinking more and more about, though, is what's instead of a blanket approach, like, look, we want to move towards EDLP, I think it's important to understand by brand and pack, how products respond to discounts and display, and whether they attract new shoppers or reward existing category shoppers, whether they drive a trade up, whether they drive expandability of consumption, and then really be clear about what the right proposition is for a particular pack based on category value, and be a little bit more sophisticated in our thinking around. There will be certain products which, if you promote them, you're not bringing new shoppers into the category. You're not driving trade up. You're actually creating more complexity in the supply chain. You're driving cost. It's probably you're not getting the uplift that warrants the investment. Well, then all of those kind of things lead you towards maybe EDLP is an appropriate strategy for this particular pack. Whereas if you're looking for, you've got another product which is driving the opposite of all of that, and it's a really good use of promotional space, attracts new shoppers, all those things I just talked about, then, well, yeah, maybe that's an appropriate category value based incentive to drive a high-low strategy of some description. And I think that's where I'm getting to, is that we need to think about the right pack and promotional strategies, and with the role of EDLP based on category value, and also what's right for the particular retail environment that we're talking about. And even when EDLP is an appropriate strategy, there needs to be some rationale and some business support for ensuring that that we still realise the value and the volume and the business performance for that particular strategy. And I guess reserve the right to change your mind if things don't play out in the way that you're expecting. But fundamentally, kind of taking ownership based on some clearly defined insights to ensure that we're maximising category value and commercial performance for both our customers and us as a supplier.
Do you have any thoughts about how shoppers perceive EDLP, or even if they do perceive EDLP?
It's one of those things where over time, both the shopper and indeed sometimes the customer will have forgotten that it's what it used to be, and now perceives that we're now at a new base, and now I want to experiment with something new on top of that. And then you get into this kind of spiral, potential spiral downwards. And I think that's a risk, that it loses the impact over time. I think the other thing is if going back to the point around whether it attracts, if high-low attracts new category shoppers and interrupts people's purchasing, then if you don't have that and people aren't shopping the aisle and you move to an EDLP, well, then maybe that will take category value out, or value out of the category. So I think it's a real watch out for brands and packs to make sure that the right conditions are there for EDLP to drive sustainable value over time.
So, the benefits of EDLP for the retailer seem quite clear. Low price messages ensure they're in the consideration set for shopper missions with budget in mind. There are operational efficiencies from removing promotions with very little risk, as IRI research shows that 70% of promotions don't actually add category value. And ultimately, they get reduced invoice prices. And it's around this last point where suppliers get really nervous, because that loss of conditionality with retailers means they have less control on engagement with light buyers and less control over the exposure from secondary display. IRI research also shows that EDLP strategies are most effective when key price points are hit, such as £1, when historic volume on deal is low, when they're applied to small and medium brands, and when access to display is maintained. So Rachel's right. You have to get forensic if you're going to make significant changes to pricing strategies, because there's a lot at stake. Econometric modelling is the best way to enable this, and our consultancy team predict outcomes with proven success. By forecasting the best and worst case scenarios, clients can plan their approach to these negotiations with certainty and focus on forging mutually beneficial partnerships around these strategies. Not just that, thinking about the points that Phil raised, you can also gain a deep understanding of how your products react to price and promotions, which create incremental volume from promotions and which are maybe better suited to an everyday low price strategy. Ultimately, this will allow well-rounded strategies to be created within a brand's portfolio or the full category range.